And our core infrastructure is going to be on Hedera, right? Low energy costs, quantum resistance, speed, et cetera, low carbon footprint.
David, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Again, apologies on the delay. It was a really big week last week in Singapore, lots of things happening. But thank you again for continuing your coverage of the Hedera ecosystem.
Well, of course, you had that huge announcement last week, and that's what we're going to be digging into. To start,
Mm-hmm.
can you tell us what the Digital Asset Alliance is and what its goals are?
Well, the Digital Asset Alliance is a consortium of banking and regulated financial institutions. It's the governance layer. We're the technical provider. However, the users of the stablecoin, which is the first product that's coming out. Number two will be basically a settlement layer where stablecoins can be swapped with multiple pairings. But really, it's about the governance and steering that we're going in the correct direction, right? So if we're going to have, for example, a stablecoin, what are the parameters around that stablecoin? Who's going to put up the capital, right? How are we going to monitor it's going to be there? How else is it going to be used? Are we just minting a stablecoin, or is it going to go into pairings, right? How do we engage with the regulator? In fact, the regulator will become a part of that. So the central bank will be a part of the DAA. So I suppose to sum it up in its most powerful sense, it is multiple banks that are giving their input and helping to uplift the quality of digital assets, particularly stablecoins and the utilization across the Philippines. So these are banks and regulators, ourselves included. But everyone gets a say so. It's not me and some other bloke that just woke up one morning and said, hey, let's make a club, right?
Yeah.
This is every single bank had to go through compliance, risk. We needed to answer multiple questions around what is the thing that we're doing? What is our plan? How does it expose us to risk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a governance layer, right? And it is, yeah. Hope that answers that.
Absolutely. Now, these banks that are involved, are they all in the Philippines? Are they all in Southeast Asia? How's the breakdown of that look?
Currently all in the Philippines.
Okay.
So they range from commercial banks with 10 million plus users to savings banks to rural banks. And we actually think we're taking a really strong position on rural banks, right? They serve the regions, they serve regional areas. I mean, very much like kind of grandpappy banks in the US. Bank of Northwestern Arizona might have one or two branches. I'm just making that up, right? The name Bank of Upstate New York, et cetera, right? They actually provide a critical service to their communities and really have been kind of left out of, Web3 infrastructure, right, of stable coins, of digital money. And really, this is a strong statement around inclusion of a range of banks and bank types across Philippines. So we're starting with Philippines. We're not going to go a mile wide, inch deep. We're, digging our heels in, and we're saying, okay, we're going to execute well. So there's roughly a half dozen now. We can only talk about the first 4 or so, but yeah, in the consortium. Right?
Well, let's dig into that stablecoin. Obviously, it makes sense now of why you're going with PHPX, a Filipino peso stablecoin. Can you talk about that and then maybe get into those future products a little bit more? Are you going to have additional stablecoins in other currencies, or are you just going to be bridging or allowing trading between stablecoins that are already established in other jurisdictions and this PHPX?
Well, let me start with why is this stablecoin different, right? So we're seeing a raft of US dollar denominated stablecoins, right? What do I expect to see? I expect there to be further fragmentation, which will lead to commoditization. A lot will die, and then there'll be a consolidation, right? That's just the way these tech cycles work. We're taking a position that's very different, right? So Circle, great company. There's lots of other companies issuing stable coins. We like the way Circle's done it, right? They've worked very well with the regulator. Regulated institutions have been very comfortable using them. But even then, it's a private company. The difference with PHPX is they're all banks. So there's a difference, right? It's not me saying I have some money somewhere. These are reserves that are sitting in a bank. So the people that are collateralizing, or the individuals, entities collateralizing it, are banks, are regulated financial institutions, are beholden to the regulator, to the central bank. There's a big difference in terms of statement of quality and collateral. So that's one. But number two, you have to think about it. There has never been a stable, to the best of my knowledge, where multiple regulated institutions, it might be one bank, A bank might say, oh, yeah, we like this. We're going to do a stable coin. They may be a very big bank. But again, to contrast what's actually happening, there is there are several banks adhering to a specific standard, specific contract, and our core infrastructure is going to be on Hedera, right? Low energy costs, quantum resistance, speed, et cetera, low carbon footprint. Yep.
So that's one thing that I think we're moving it into is, of course, most money that's created is created by banks when they make loans. So having this kind of infrastructure makes perfect sense to me. So it sounds like, from what you said before, that Fresh Supply Co. is the technical partner in this. But these banks that you're mentioning, are they fairly confident in the product market fit for this stablecoin and the other products you have coming down the line?
I'll give a little bit more context. So FSCO is partnered in a joint venture with IONA, so the entity is Just Finance, right?
Okay.
There's a very specific reason. Again, if we want to play in the real world, you have to have licenses. So electronic money licenses, virtual asset licenses, remittance agent licenses, payments licenses. So we have all those, right? So as a result, we can play or we can interact with regulated financial institutions. So let me zoom out. This is important post-election. All right. This is not about getting political, but President-elect Trump has made a very clear statement around CBDCs. For the next 4 years, there will not be a government-issued CBDC. What he's basically saying is it's going to be private sector, not public sector, and it will not be central banks or governments issuing central bank digital currency, at least not to retail. Not going to happen. In that case, stablecoins are going to be the instrument. This also goes back to a statement made by the Central Bank of England governor, I think about a month ago, which was you basically have 5 years. Private sector has 5 years to work on commercialization of stablecoins as digital money. If you fail, we will come in and do retail CBDCs, right? So again, there's a secondary validation. So we step out and say that's the macro. So product market fit. I'll say this. There have been multiple attempts by the banks individually to launch stablecoins, and they failed. They have not been successful. So, I mean, we talk about things like network effect, right? We think about acceptance. We think about, okay, well, if it's just one bank using it, that's not that exciting. That happens all the time. But if we have multiple banks using it, it starts to become interesting, especially when they collectively service, say, 20 plus million customers right now, right? So yeah, again, when it comes to product market fit, we are seeing a maturation and we are seeing the macro sort of events support that it will be private sector. Now, who in the private sector is going to be issuing the stable coins? We think it's going to be banks. Trillions with the TR, trillions of dollars move through the traditional finance system every day. Comparatively, the market cap for stablecoins is small for now, 160 billion US. What we're doing is we're bringing the ability to mirror that traditional fiat with high quality collateral and allowing that to move around in a unified ledger in a consistent way across regulated financial institutions. So I would say that the banks are full of smart people. They know that product is coming. Which product? Is it going to be CBDC? I've spoken to Australian banks here. Is it going to be CBDCs or is it going to be stable coins? Well, Trump won. It's going to be stable coins at least for the next 4 years, right? That will be the preferred instrument. Maybe it'll be different in the EU. Weird things happen in the EU, right? Yeah, good for them, right? They have a different kind of regulatory framework in terms of wholesale settlement. Stable coins are coming. What does that look like across a country or territory? And being able to adhere to a specific standard where it's interoperable between banks and allows them to, number one, more cheaply and easily move money. Number two, be able to actually participate in these forex pairings, right? Because it's a very big remittance market. So I think it's number 3 globally. So there'll be China, India, and number 3 is Philippines. There's about 40 billion US dollars that are coming in from a range of different currencies, whether it's South African rand, AED, AUD. So that's one of the pairings that we'll very soon support. AUD, PHP, JPY, PHP, right? So back to the term product market fit, that will be the preferred instrument for the next 4 years. I don't think there's we see it in Australia too. Random banks they may be big banks, they just issue their currency. So what? So, if it's going to be used across a network of banks for specific use cases, one of those being interbank settlement, right? And number two being remittance, and the ability to provide this is the last piece, a foreign currency deposit type product. We'll be working with closely with the regulator on that.
All right, understood. Now I want to bring this back to Fresh Supply Co. Is Fresh Supply going to use this PHPX in other parts of their business, or is this kind of a new thing that you're expanding into?
So FSCO, we prefer the term FSCO. FSCO will be partnering on the PHPX side. Initially, it's about focus on the Philippine market. Now, we will, and I can't say too much yet, there will be other currency pairings. So how we roll that out, I would say there will be some overlap into other parts of the business, but we will do it in a controlled way, right? Again, as you're aware, we work with MasterCard MTN. We work with other technologies and other parts of other types of institutions in different parts of the world, also some government work, right? So I would expect to see some of that, how would I say it tactfully? I think there would be some overlap.
All right, that makes sense. All right, so from what I've seen on socials, you're becoming quite the Hedera bull. How do you see this digital asset alliance impacting the Hedera network?
Number one is users. Number two is transactions by function of wallets, right? Remember, these banks need a solution for low cost, low energy, high security. Sound familiar, right? Requirements for their businesses, the ability to, again, support the infrastructure to support the use case.
Yeah, do you think so? One of the most transacted NFTs is actually a Filipino credentialing for students there. Do you think Hedera can really get a foothold in, as far as wallets and things like that, and it become like the de facto Web3 layer there in the Philippines?
It depends on your go to market. It depends on your go to market. So remember, I mean, I think there will be a way to reach retail by going B2B2C. I think it's the powerful thing is the adoption of a specific standard and all of those members seeing value in the utility and the technology selection, right? So it's low cost. Is it cheaper? They ask fundamental questions, right? For those who aren't technophiles, is it cheaper? Is it faster? Is it more secure? And can you provide it to me in a way that's easy to use? It's that simple, right? So remember, it's not a high wealth country. So if it's cheap to move money, if it gives a broader range of financial products that are available, and if we can do it in a sane and well-considered way with regulated institutions, I prefer that approach, right? We're more comfortable with that approach, right? Versus just, you know, free balling it and just launching, free balling it and just launching. Yeah, we'll just launch a random stable coin. We're good for it. Don't worry about it. It'll be awesome, right? That again, I have to reiterate, this is a considered approach going to market, and you know, for every partner that is coming into the Digital Asset Alliance and adopting the standard and supporting the distribution, risk has to go through it, compliance has to go through it, right? All these things have to, it's not that easy. So it's not like you just snap your fingers, hey mate, just join our club, right? You want to join our stablecoin gang? Yeah, that's not how it happens, right? So yeah.
So this sounds like the right strategy to me. Is there anything else that you'd like to cover that we might have missed before we let you go?
Well, two parts. I do think it's, yes, PHPX is the first part, but then those key critical pairings, around, again, there are high cost transactions, whether you're going from Japanese yen or Australian dollar into PHP, it's expensive. So those are key pairings that we will look to. We're looking for partners, issuing partners of respectable money, respectable stable coins, and also in the future, looking at partnerships in the yield bearing space, right? And underpinning. So we're really pushing infrastructure for Web3 banking. That's what we're happening. So if you are in that space, feel free to reach out. If you're a regulator and interested, feel free to reach out. We'll have more to share. But again, we're kind of working with the adults in the room, right? And making sure that we don't disappoint.
All right. Well, congratulations on the launch so far. And thank you so much for hopping on today and telling us about it.
Thanks, Brandon. Cheers.
I'm now posting these interviews of Hedera builders independently to my channel. The community, influencers, and media outlets are free to use this content to spread the word on what's being built on Hedera. Once they're all uploaded, you'll be able to go to my channel and search for whatever topic or team you're interested in to find more information. Or you'll be able to get the most recent Hedera news by watching the latest HBAR Weekly update. So check them out.